An accord is two or more perfume materials combined to create a single whole. Think of a accord as a super simple perfume formula. Many perfumes have several accords within them.
And today, we're going to make the Grojsman Accord. In the last 4 videos, we examined methyl-ionone, we examined iso-e-super, and we examined hedione, and we examined galaxolide. 4 different perfume materials. We're going to combine them together, put them in this bottle here to create the Grojsman Accord. Small, simple formula is named after one of the most famous perfumers in the entire world. Her name is Sophia Grojsman. She's made some of the best perfumes in recent times. So let's re-examine methyl-ionone, okay?
Methyl-ionone alpha, a very powdery material. It's likely, at least to me, it is the strongest material within the Grojsman Accord, so I'm going to assign it a 10 out of 10. Basically smells like baby powder, soft wood. It has some nuances of violet flowers, a little bit sweet.
The ionones within the Grojsman Accord, they work to soften all the materials within a perfume. So the Grojsman Accord, 4 materials, the soft powdery part of this accord, this is the ionones. The ionones also, they take, for example, fruity materials and make them floral. So soft, unfocused fruit scents, in my opinion, do in fact smell very much like flowers. Flowers and fruits are related to one another. They're very similar smelling.
This fragrance wheel is taken from the Fragrances of the World website. To the left, you can see that the fruity materials and floral materials are assigned a close relationship. This makes sense because fruits do come from the flowers of fruit-bearing trees. And basically the major difference between fruits and florals is that florals tend to smell more powdery, perhaps less juicy than the fruits. So take some ionones, add it to the fruity materials, and they do become more floral smelling.
Okay, number 3, the ionones, they take the woody materials, the iso-e-super. The ionones, the powdery materials, take this wood and it softens the wood, and together the powder and the woody materials provide a background, a solid foundation upon which the fruity and the floral elements can hang. I'll talk more about this later. Finally, I'd like to say that depending on how much ionone you use, the ionones can create a sort of makeup scent. It can sort of give a very powdery, soapy makeup scent to florals, and some people feel this is somewhat outdated. So be careful when you use ionones within your perfumes. Okay. Iso-e-super.
Iso-e-super is the woodiest material within the Grojsman Accord, slightly weaker than the ionones, so I give it a 6 out of 10. And it basically smells like cedarwood, sandalwood, and clean human skin. Iso-e-super is also the warmest element within the Grojsman Accord.
Why is iso-e-super used within the Grojsman Accord? I would suggest this. Iso-e-super is the warmest material amongst the 4 materials within the Grojsman Accord. It provides warmth and it solidifies all the other materials. It's more wood, it's more solid smelling. So, example. Iso-e-super, it is a wood. This is a solid material. Next you have the ionones. These are powdery or semi-solid materials. Next would be galaxolide and hedione. Both of them are very ethereal. They're very light above the wearer's skin. The iso-e-super, it gives the fruity and all the floral materials branches or a structure upon which to hang. If you increase the amount of iso-e-super in your Grojsman Accord, or if you increase the iso-e-super within your perfume, this will result in a solid, woody smelling fragrance. A thicker, people would say a more traditional masculine smelling perfume. The next point I'd like to make is that iso-e-super, because it's a wood, it allows for the incorporation of spices and darker, more earthy materials. Okay? Therefore, if you incorporate the isoe super into this Grojsman Accord, you can actually stretch the perfume downwards into deeper, darker, heavier materials.
ISOE Super is the warmest and most solid, most grounding material within the Grosman Accord. A quick look at the textures. So we have ISOE Super, which is a solid wood, and then you have the ionones, a very powdery, semi-solid type texture. And we also have galaxolide and hedione. These are very atmospheric, non-solid materials that float above the wearer. So we have solid, semi-solid, and unsolid materials all within the Grosman Accord. Increasing the amount of ISOE super in this accord will result in a more solid, more woody perfume. I feel that transparent woods allow for the gradual introduction of darker, deeper, more woody and earthy materials into the accord and into the perfume.
Another interesting point, because within the Grosman Accord you have hedione, galaxolide, very, very light materials, and then you have the powdery ionones, and finally the solid woody type isoe super. This structure of different textures within the Grosman Accord, this allows for a dynamic range, and it creates a sort of dynamic within a perfume. Okay, next material we have hedione.
Hedione is a very faint, rather transparent material. It smells of loosely of jasmine, green flowers, green leaves, and a bit of lemon. It's a fresh green floral. And within the Grosman Accord, I would probably give it a 3 out of 10 in terms of strength.
Now, hedione, as you remember, it's a very, very light, bright green floral material. It sort of stretches the perfume upwards and outwards. The hedione actually brings and lifts perfume materials off the wearer's skin. Okay? So I would suggest this. It's my opinion that hedione within the Grosman Accord, it cools and it sweetens and it refreshes the other materials. It's a very green, floral, and ethereal type material. It floats above all the other, well, it floats together with the galaxolide. It floats around the other and above the other materials, okay? Hedione spreads the molecules outwards, and it creates what perfumers call a sillage, right? It creates a cloud of scent. Hedione, if you increase hedione within your Grosman Accord, it will result in a less solid and more ethereal perfume. And finally, I believe that hedione, this green, fresh green floral material, it allows for the incorporation of other green materials, other fruit materials, citrus, and lighter materials. Again, hedione is kind of the opposite of isoe super, where isoe super, this woody, solid material, allows for the perfume to be stretched downwards. Hedione allows for the perfume to be stretched upwards into the lighter top notes.
Speaking about opposites within the Grosman Accord, on the left here you have hedione, which is cool and bright, and to the right, isoe super is a very warm, woody material. Hedione, it's very fresh, it's thin, atmospheric, allows for the introduction of top notes, whereas isoe super can be used to build the perfume downwards into more earthy, darker materials.
And finally, galaxolide.
To me, galaxolide is nearly transparent. I have a very difficult time smelling it, but it does smell like a clean laundry. It's a white musk. Sometimes, to me, it smells actually like a transparent, very, very thin sandalwood. And galaxolide is probably the most ethereal, most atmospheric of all the materials within the Grosman Accord.
Galaxolide acts very similarly to hedione, light, ethereal, a very sort of clean laundry type smell to a perfume. It slows down the evaporation process of very light materials, but it gives a fresh, laundry, expansive scent to them at the same time.
So let's review the materials within the Grosman Accord. We have the methyl basically baby powder. That's the strongest material in the Accord. Then we have isoe super, a very light cedarwood. That's about a 6 out of 10 in its relationship compared with methyl ionone. Next we have Hedione, a light green jasmine. Give that a 3 out of 10 in comparison to the strongest material. And finally, Galaxolide, which basically smells like clean bed sheets or a very light sandalwood. I give that about a 1 out of 10. So there you go, the relative strength of materials in this accord.
If you use equal amounts of the four materials, the resulting combination will be a very powdery, woody, slightly floral, slightly clean laundry type scent.
The classic Grojsman accord calls for equal parts of all four materials. What you'll end up with is a very powdery, slightly woody, slightly green floral accord with nuances of clean bed sheets.
Because what happens if you do equal parts of each of these materials, the heavier, stronger materials, the ionones and the wood materials, the ISOE super will definitely bury and hide, not completely disappear, but they will be more present than the more light, more transparent Galaxolide and Hedione.
Question: how and why was this accord used in perfumes? What purpose did it serve?
Typically, it was used very often in thick, rich, floral perfumes. It does give women's perfumes this sort of classic makeup bag type scent. The Grojsman accord goes excellently with floral and fruity materials, and it goes well with slightly woody, slightly rooty materials as well.
Rumor has it that Tresor by Lancôme was made up of 80% Grojsman accord.
As it was used in Tresor, is a powdery floral woman's perfume.
Tresor has these dry green opening notes, top notes. We have some florals and some fruits in the middle. Peach and apricot does come down into the middle of the perfume. And then towards the end of the perfume, it smells like a powdery, woody vanilla, a bit sweet.
The powdery elements within the Grojsman accord, they go very well with the fruits and the florals, the peach and the jasmine and the ylang ylang and the rose in Tresor. It allows for the florals, the flowers to combine and mix well with the fruity elements. The ISOE super within the Grojsman accord, well, it makes all the other elements in this perfume a little bit warmer, and it also mixes very well with vanilla, coumarin, tonka beans, and heliotropin. And ISOE super, this woody material, goes very well with these warm, sweet, edible type base notes. The Hedione within the Grojsman accord, these go well with the opening fresh green notes, the lime and the pineapple that is found when you first spray Tresor on your skin. It's got this green. To me, it smells a little bit like grapefruits, and Hedione does an excellent job exalting and promoting the fresh top notes within Tresor. Finally, the clean bed sheets, right? The Galaxolide creates this very clean laundry type background. It makes the perfume smell modern and rich.
So the Grojsman accord in Tresor. The powders, the ionones, what they do is they soften the fruits and the florals, the peach, the jasmine, the ylang ylang and the rose. It softens all these elements so it becomes one nice bouquet of flowers. The woods, the ISOE super, it goes well with the sweeter materials towards the base notes. It really enhances and enriches the vanilla, the tonka beans, and the coumarin, the heliotropin, all these vanilla type, edible type materials. The bright green florals, the Hedione, right? The Hedione in the Grojsman accord, this really exalts the opening notes within Tresor. The lime, the bitter green, dry green opening to this perfume is really expanded with the help and the use of bright green, bright floral Hedione. Finally, the Galaxolide, this provides a sort of modern makeup, fashion-like edge to the perfume, gives a sort of very clean bed sheets, overall nice clean scent to this perfume.